Hello, I'm Jashikins, and welcome to another episode of Jash Reads. Tonight, I will be continuing reading Animorphs number 10, The Android by K.A. Applegate, and hopefully be able to speak throughout the video. But anyways, as always, this video is not intended for kids. Instead, it is intended for adults who are discovering or rediscovering the joys and horror that is Animorphs. And I gotta say this, I'm going to probably make a The Raven Speaks episode that delves a little bit more into this, but I'm super fucking excited. And if you're an Animorphs fan, and especially if you've been an Animorphs fan since the fucking beginning, you'll probably really fucking love this news. You probably already heard it, but I just want to say it out loud. We're getting we're getting an Animorphs movie. This is another chance for an adaptation, which means this is another chance for this to be done fucking correctly. Again, I'm going to make it the Raven Speaks episode, delving a little bit more into this, but on the plus side, I'm super excited that K.A. Applegate and Michael Grant are going to be a part of this, because that gives me a tiny bit of hope, because, guys, that's a whole rant for another day, but this sort of points to something good. But I'm also worried just because I was burned so much with the TV adaptation. Like, the first episode of the TV show came on and I was just like, I feel betrayed. Like, at that moment, like, the first episode of the TV show, I'm like, I am never going to trust an adaptation ever again. So I'm hoping this will be done right. I'm excited, but I'm worried, and all these emotions are flooding through me right now. Like, the news came up, and like, by the time I got up just checking Twitter and Facebook during the morning, like 3 people had sent me thing, and by the end of the day, like 6 people had. So yes, let's hope this is done correctly. Again, the Raven Speaks episode will probably be out in a little bit, maybe a week or so, depending on how much I actually have to say, because outlining sort of amazes me with the direction some things take. So, but anyways, let's get started on this chapter. I'm sorry, this was much longer than I usually like to speak before starting a video, but I am just super excited about this news. Fingers crossed, please don't fuck this up. God. Oh, God. Okay. Now, like, this chapter is like going to get dark and emotional, and I'm like, woohoo! Okay, let's just calm down. Okay, I'm ready now. Right, totally ready now. An android? Yes, a robot. A machine made to seem like a life form. Axe said, as though it was just the most common idea in the world. This is like something you know about Axe? I asked, looking up at the thing called Erek. This is not a type of android I know, Axe said. It is not Andalite. I don't think it is Yerk. I don't know who or what it is. My spider eyes could see the foot and most of the way up the leg. It was like looking at a double exposure photograph. There was the outward appearance of a human leg, and way up high, shorts. But beneath all that, there was this machine made of what seemed like steel and ivory. It was thousands of interlocked plates, almost like the chainmail armor knights used to wear. Each of the individual links was roughly triangular in shape. The ivory segments were a little larger than the segments that looked like steel. The robot, android, whatever it was smaller than the human Erek. The leg I was looking at was oddly constructed, more like a stretched out dog leg than a human leg. The robot leg, along with its holographic projection of a human foot, lifted off as Erek went on his way. "Jake?" I called. "Yeah? Hey, I think I see our guy. There's this person. It's hard with fly senses, but I see this person who is kind of shimmering all over, and it's like there's something hiding underneath all this shimmering light." "Yep, that's him," I confirmed. "Wait a minute. There's another one." "What?" "Another one of them," Jake answered. "I just buzzed right past him. There are two of these things." "Okay, now things have gotten," I started to say. Wharp, 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 wharp. A hurricane of wind. The ground in front of me exploded as two big talon feet landed in the dirt, a shadow over my head. I ran. Two big black triangles came down from the sky above me. They dug in, just in front of me, just behind me. Like a power shovel, the two triangles closed together. I was inside. I was in darkness. Total darkness. Some big muscular thing was crushing me, squeezing me. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see. I was being squeezed and pummeled. And then I realized I was being swallowed. "Ah!" I yelled. There are two kinds of thought speak. Private, which is like whispering right in one person's ear, and public, which is like yelling. I was yelling. Every person near that lake heard me. Normal humans who probably wondered, what was that? And controllers who knew it was thought speak. But I didn't care. I was being swallowed. "Marco!" Jake yelled. "What's happening?" "Marco, everyone can hear you," Axe warned. I tried to control my panic. I was being swallowed. But I wasn't dead yet. Something just grabbed me," I said, aiming my thought speak at Jake and Axe only. "I think it was a bird," Axe said. "I saw it. Very big and black. It flew off." My spider legs were crushed against my side. Two of them were broken. The hairs all over my body were blind. My eyes were blind. There wasn't enough air even for my spider body to live on. I was being forced down the gullet of a bird, flying through the air, and seconds away from suffocating. "Tobias?" I cried desperately. "Can you hear me?" "Marco? What's happening?" Tobias answered. His reply came from far off. "A bird ate me! Blackbird! We're flying! Can you see? Help! Marco, There are a dozen big crows flying. I can't tell which one. I felt my mind beginning to fade. The spider was dying. What would happen if the spider died? I wondered as my attention drifted away. What would happen to the big wad of Marco mass in Z space? That thought did it. I was out of there. Morph out! I tried to form a mental picture of my own real self. A mental picture of a human named Marco. But it was all confused. My mind was dying. And as it sank, it called up 1,000 images. Images of wolves and giant ants and gorillas. Images of all the animals I had been. All the minds I had lived in. I couldn't grab that human image and hold onto it. But then, floating up in my disintegrating consciousness, came the image of my mother. I guess that's a surprise. They say dying soldiers on the battlefield often call out for their mothers with their dying breaths. And I guess that's what I was doing, too. But this was my real mother, the way she'd been when she was truly alive. Not the controller known as Fisher 1, but my own real mom. She was smiling at me. She was much taller than me, but she bent down to pick me up. I flew up in the air, up to her face. She kissed me. You are going to grow up to be so cute, she said. My little Marco. Marco, the human boy. I saw myself clearly then, like I was looking through her eyes at the little toddler I'd been. Not the Animorph Marco, but the little kid Marco. Suddenly, the pressure was growing. I was squeezed from all sides. I felt muscle tensing to restrain me. But then, the muscle weakened and quivered. A ripping, tearing sound. Light! I was demorphing and growing. I had burst through the throat of the crow, and now I was falling. Marco! Tobias yelled. Money, distorted vision showed me the crow falling alongside me. I was falling through the air, a vile mix of crippled spider and merging human. I was the size of a baseball, I guess, and getting bigger. I hate to even think of what I looked like. I know I wasn't pretty. Wham! I hit the ground. I bounced. I hit the ground again. I lay there, not knowing where I was or what I was. But I knew one thing for sure. I was going to demorph. I was getting out of that morph. If I'd had a mouth, I would have started screaming and never stopped. But my mouth reappeared late. 4 of my spider legs withered and disappeared. My remaining legs became human arms and legs. My tiny claws became toes. My fangs and jaws became teeth and lips. My 8 spider eyes shut down one after another, leaving only 2. And slowly, those 2 eyes became fully human. I looked up through human eyes at a blue sky, at the high branches of trees looming above me. And then I looked up into the face of my former schoolmate, Erek. Erek the android. And that's for that chapter. Let me make sure I'm not losing my place here. 13. Okay. Let's do the light. Okay, good. And that was a really happy chapter. Like, I began this video all happy, and I told you, hey, this chapter was not one of the happier ones. Mark, like, I'm in this happy mood, and then I'm like, but then I have to act scared, like I'm dying, and I'm to the point I'm seeing my mother, and yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to act sad. Gosh, that was happy. This is one of the chapters in Animorphs where I'm like, this is for young adults, but some of the content within the pages is like, is that really for kids though? Like, one of our heroes is being eaten alive to the point he's nearly dying. And to the point of dying that he can't actually see himself. He can't remember his human self. And luckily enough, because he's imagining his mother and seeing through his mother's eyes, he's like, okay, that's what I look like. But then he falls, and then after he does that, it's Erek there that we know now isn't human. And is a type of android that Axe is not familiar with. And so it's like, oh great, I survived, and now think might be captured by the Yerks. Yay! So yeah. So I guess I can really ask a nice happy question. So let's go into dark and gloom, because that's sort of what this chapter implies. I mean, this chapter has a guide on our heroes nearly dying because he was eaten alive by a crow. So let's see. Not a happy question. How about this? If you were in Marco's situation and you were being eaten alive to the point it was hard concentrating on what you look like, what would you do? Would you be able to figure out what your human self looked like so you could demorph before the point where you actually died? Or would that be how you ended? Please comment down below. And also, adding on to that question is, would you then, if you were able to, would you just remorph to hide your identity, or would you just demorph like Marco did because you're like, screw this shit? Also comment down below, and also comment below with anything else you thought about this lovely, happy chapter where one of our heroes nearly died. Like, nice, happy. This is the stuff for kids. Like, how the fuck did I read this a million times when I was a kid? God. Sheesh. And as always, please like the video. If you listen to this chapter, if you read this chapter and you're like, this was for kids, this was for young adults, like, they're like, yeah, do this, and yeah, like for that. If you're like, wow, this was for kids, yeah. And like, this is one of the reasons why I'm worried about an Animorphs adaptation, because some of the things, just usual young adult fare of heroes and stuff, but then you have things like this, and you're like, how accurate would an adaptation be, especially when studios are like, oh no, we can't put that in the movie because think of the children. It's like, that's what the children grew up with. They can survive it. Kids are much tougher than people tend to get them credit for. Like, I read Animorphs a million times as a kid, and yet when I'm an adult, I can see how actually dark it is. Kids are really tough. You need to give them much more credit. And also subscribe to his YouTube channel because I will be reading the entire Animorphs series. All the main books, Megamorphs, Chronicles, and also, since there is this new wave of Animorphs content coming out, please support it so Scholastic will know that Animorphs is still a property that is, worth making new adaptations of and doing stuff with, so they can do something with this property. And so if you're into audiobooks, there's now audiobooks of the first 10 books in the main series. So, buy those, listen to those, support it. There's a graphic novel coming out, I believe, in October. And there's a collectible tin coming out in November. And yes, I pre-ordered both the graphic novel hardcover and the tin. I mean, I usually wouldn't do that I might do like paperback, but this is Animorphs. I'm sort of obsessed, so. I hope you are all doing well, keeping safe. Remember, don't leave the house unless you need to. Don't risk your lives just because you feel cooped up. Like, read Animorphs. You can rewatch, this video, the other Animorphs dramatic readings I've done, and you can also read the books for yourselves. But don't watch the TV show. Just don't. I know times are tough nowadays and stuff's going on in the world. Seems like it's chaos, but do not watch the TV show. No, you don't deserve it. My worst enemy does not deserve that shit. Please say the upcoming movie is not like the TV show. And until next video, goodbye. Woo!